You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Remember the good old days when the most important thing was who the doctor was going to offer the jelly babies to? Now it's all about who's going to be the next one, who he's going to regenerate into. Is it going to be a he or a she? Remember surprises? I miss surprises. I didn't know the regenerations were going to happen when I was a kid. Just suddenly, there was this creepy figure that was following the doctor around. Next thing you know, the doctor was dying and a new guy took over. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Everybody, Dan Wickline here. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show on The Experience. Thank you, Jay. Today we are going to talk about a brand new Doctor Who, or the Doctor. I know when you refer to him as Doctor Who, everybody gets really mad at you. You know? So... but we're going to be joined today by Kyle, who's going to chit-chat with us about being the new Doctor and the history of the character and anything else we can come up with. But I actually had another question for you, Kyle. Have you been watching Winning Time?
We were supposed to, for us to talk about it, and I started. I wouldn't say I've been watching it.
How far into it?
Definitely on episode 3, and I don't remember anything that's happened since the first episode, so I have to start over. See, that's the problem with this thing, right? Like, I start a show, and then it's like, oh, my friends want to play Mario Kart, so I play Mario Kart and forget that the show is on. So
you're an adult. You're an adult, right? That works in the industry here.
Yes.
So, okay.
Which means my Mario Kart skills have to be top level.
You know, I play a ton of World of Warcraft.
Let's not get into how many years of my life I lost to that game.
But I still, I still watch the shows I got to watch.
I still have collegiate debt related to World of Warcraft. But no, it's one of those things is that I started watching it and I was really enjoying it. My intense hatred for the Lakers does in no way influences my enjoyment of this show. Because as it turns out, the Lakers I dislike came years after this Lakers. So it's good.
Why do you hate the Lakers?
I couldn't stand Kobe or Shaq.
Okay.
I'm not a huge basketball fan, but at the time, I was a big fan of guys like Zydrunas Ilgauskas and other... Right. Okay. I was a big fan of the Cleveland Cavaliers because they had a lot of large Middle European dudes who looked vaguely like me.
Mm-hmm.
And you had Kobe and Shaq who were just unbeatable. And so the Cleveland Cavaliers being basically the worst team in the league at the time. This is pre-LeBron. And then Kobe and Shaq being like the best. It's just a thing.
You
know, the nonconformist in me.
Yeah, it's like the people that hate the Patriots because Patriots win a lot.
Yeah, I hate the Patriots because Tom Brady went to Michigan, but like that's the only reason.
You know, a lot of people go to Michigan.
I understand, and I hate a lot of teams because of it.
Tumunga Biakapatuka went to Michigan and is a lovely.
Yeah, but he didn't have much of an NFL career.
You're right. He had a little bit of time there, but
ironically, though, neither has any of Ohio State's Heisman Trophy winners.
Eddie George.
He's the only one. And by the way, his jersey hangs in my room. Have I showed you the room I'm in, Dan?
No, I don't think you have.
I'm just going to show you a little sample.
All right. I sense a poison nut theme.
Yeah, this is our home theater room at the house.
Mm.
And it definitely has a theme. Oh, hold on. One more thing.
I got a good question. How many Ohio State quarterbacks have made the NFL?
Oh, God, like none? Well, the one that did like had a gambling problem and is way more interesting for that than his playing career.
Who was that?
Arch Schleister.
Oh, okay.
No, I know where this goes, but like we're here to talk about something that's way more important.
I understand that, but I really rarely get to talk sports, and I enjoyed Winning Time a lot. But
I think I'm really gonna like it too. Like I said, it was one of those things I started watching it with every intent of like really digging in and paying attention and taking notes. And then it was like, hey, do you want to do this other thing? Sure, I can do that and watch this. No, I can't.
Yeah.
So I'll probably pick Winning Time back up tonight after we get off the air tonight.
Now you and I talked about trying to get Rodney on here, Rodney Barnes.
Still working.
Okay. I've decided my number one question I want to ask him is, when season 2 happens, are they going to kind of combine the 81-82 season together? Because we are the 80-81 season and 81-82 season into one season. Because I really want them to get to Kurt Rambis. Because I grew up and that was my hero on the Lakers. You know, when you see the big white guy with the horn-rimmed glasses playing, and every time he'd drive from the middle, somebody would end up hitting him in the face, and he'd come away with the ball and blood trickling down the side of his face. And, you know, that was just –
I fervently believe that those guys used to blade like they were professional wrestlers. Like they'd come out and they'd have a little nick in their skin already just so they could, you know, when they'd get hit, it'd tear open and they'd bleed just to look more badass. Like, did you see the 30 for 30 about Birds, Celtics, and Magic's Lakers and the rivalry they had?
I haven't, but I'm much more interested
narrated.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said I'm much more interested in now coming off of this show.
Yeah, it's co-narrated by Marky Mark and Ice Cube.
Interesting.
I had to remember if it's Ice Cube or Ice T. One of the ices.
Not vanilla.
Not vanilla, but one of the ones that's gone on to do other television. He's either in NCA or in Law and Order or the one that's not.
All three of them have gone on to do other television.
Rob Van Winkle being an Amish carpenter does not count.
Isn't he doing some commercials now?
As Vanilla Ice. But no, he had a long-running show where it was like, Vanilla Ice fixes your house. Anyway, but it was a great, like, multi-part documentary on the rivalry between the Lakers and the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
Really good.
Yeah, no, I remember the rivalry. I grew up right at that time. I mean, for you, it's looking back. For me, it was
right. I wasn't born yet. Right.
You know, because when this all took place, it was 79-80, which is what the season of Winning Time was, I was 9, going on 10. So when they won, I was 10 years old. I was a year away from meeting Jack Kirby. I mean, that's
right. I wouldn't be born for another decade.
Yes.
So, but
so,
I remember Magic, and I remember Bird and like the Dream Team and all that kind of stuff when I was really young. I remember what a big deal it was. So I have some context for these players in these times, but just as a general sports enthusiast, not necessarily as someone who witnessed them.
Yeah. No, I really liked the show. I liked the writing of it because it was so unique. And that's the thing that really got my attention was, you hear some of the casting that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I don't know if it would have worked with anybody but John C. Reilly. And I'm fairly sure I never would have said that before this show. I never looked at John C. Reilly and went, oh my God, he's perfect for. And his portrayal of Jerry Buss was just dead on. At least from the persona, the memory I have of the man. But you look at the idea of either Will Ferrell or Michael Shannon playing the part, and that just doesn't compute. Well,
I think part of what makes this show great is Rodney, right? He's in it, by the way. He plays a security guard.
Okay.
But yeah, written like a comic book for television.
Yeah.
I think it plays. So I'm interested to dig into the rest of it, and if I hear back from Carlos, Rodney's assistant, we can get him on the air maybe next week, and we can have a sit down and talk about it.
Like that very much. I think that'd be a lot of fun to find out how much of the show is dramatic liberty and how much is accurate.
I know there were parts of it that Magic was unhappy with.
I know Jerry West is actually suing.
Jerry West was very unhappy with. And I think there were parts of it that, like, when I say Magic was unhappy, is that it maybe made Magic look too much like Magic. You know what I mean? Like it leaned into the mythos as opposed to the fact.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty interesting show. If you guys haven't checked it out, and now that Moon Knight is wrapped up, and we don't get Kenobi and Miss Marvel for a few weeks, if you're looking for something to check out, I recommend that. It was really enjoyable. There's some other shows coming out now too that I haven't had a chance to check out. Not sure how to pronounce it yet. The Peneveret, the new Mike Myers. It's the new Mike Myers show on on Netflix, where he plays it's like a secret society thing, and Shrek guest stars.
I canceled my Netflix.
I've thought about it. I actually wrote up
Netflix and Hulu.
I wrote up an entire thing about how if Netflix wants to save itself, it needs to stop doing the binge watching mode. They need to start doing the weekly shows so that their shows now I know everybody who loves to binge watch will hate that.
I don't think that's going to save them, but I think you're right. But I don't think that's going to save them.
Yeah, they may not be salvageable, but I think that you look at a show like Moon Knight, where there are tons of YouTube channels and stuff doing multiple videos a week about the show over a 6-week period. And then you look at something like The Witcher, and it came out and everybody went, okay, here's our review of The Witcher.
I think part of the problem is with Netflix, it thrived when there was very little competition.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was the only thing that had the archival stuff, right? Hulu, when it was just Netflix and Hulu, really didn't have archival stuff. They had some movies, but they didn't really have the archives that Netflix had.
Yeah.
And then when competition started coming, Netflix refused to pay for things like The Office and Friends and Parks and Rec. And I know I'm naming sitcoms, but there were other things too that they lost to HBO, to Paramount Plus, to Peacock, to all these other places because either those networks already owned the product or they were willing to pay up.
Yeah.
And so now Netflix has become relegated to having to stand alone on the content they create, which it's good, but I'm not going to sign up for a streaming service to see a Mike Myers joint. Like, if you know, I'll go log into my parents' Netflix account to watch it, but like, not interested in paying for Netflix myself. And if I can't share passwords, then I just won't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care enough about The Witcher to justify getting and keeping a streaming service. I'll sign up for a month, watch The Witcher, and then discontinue.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, they put on so much content that just vanishes because there's no word of mouth about it because it comes out and it's gone. There's a ton of movies on there that, you know, The Old Guard came out and people talked about it for a minute and then it was gone because that's just what Netflix is. It's this giant ocean of material. And, you know, when I go up to visit Lisa and it's the end of the night, we're like, oh, let's watch something. And we start just seeking and there's no way to really find anything, you know,
right?
All
Netflix
networks, all the other streaming services, we go on there for something specific, you know. Oh, let's go watch Only Murders in the Building. There's a reason for Hulu, you know, which was a great series. Or, you know, you go on to HBO Max for all the superhero stuff from there, or Disney Plus. You know, Netflix, you just don't think about stuff like that. I don't even know what Netflix has anymore. You know, it used to be, you know, I originally got it because of the Marvel series. There's some stuff on there I loved. I loved Marco Polo. I loved Altered Carbon, you know, but they all, you know, I remember back when I was writing for Bleeding Cool, we would do that. We would binge watch the Daredevil shows. Oh, we watched it, and then we'd put out one article for Daredevil, and then Altered Carbon came along, and I went, well, wait a minute. Let me watch an episode and then write about it. Watch, write. And those turned out to be some of the biggest viewed articles I ever did on Bleeding Cool because people were, you know, getting the individual issues and episodes, and I was doing a lot more in depth on a single episode than when you just do the whole series. And it's just, I think the binge model is what's killing them. They're doing all these, you know, there could be some fabulous stuff on there.
Right. Like I said, I don't think the binge model is helping them.
Yeah.
But I also think, again, it's where's the licensed content? Where are the IPs people recognize?
Yeah.
You have The Witcher, great. You have
Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, where are the children's cartoons that are licensed content that HBO Max and Paramount are doing?
Yeah.
Where are the video game IPs that other people are developing? Where are the
That's the other problem is that when you're looking at Disney and Warner Brothers having their own streaming service, they're the studio. They don't have to make a fortune on these things because it's another outlet. It's not their sole thing. Where Netflix is, you know, and then now they're creating the content and funding it, but you know they're having to partner with. They've got the Knives Out movies coming up.
Right, but what I'm getting at is Netflix spent all this money on the Millar world. And it's not paying off for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's licensed content, but it didn't pay off, so they just bailed.
Yeah.
Or whatever they've done. They need to go back to that well, but they need to develop stuff that's a little more real world than Mark Millar's kind of universe, right? Jupiter Rising was never, or whatever, was never going to be a huge seller because it wasn't for Image.
Right.
But there's other things they can go and license that I think would help them. Just getting known commodities and make children's shows.
Yeah. They could make
Netflix has a kids specific function where you can set it up for your children. So go out and talk to, I don't know, PBS and get Daniel Tiger. Talk to whoever is out there making children's content and get children's content.
Josh says, it's disconcerting to me that people are taking a modicum of glee and pulling the Netflix plug. We're quickly returning to a time where movie theaters were owned by individual studios only digitally. The glee comes from, and we see it constantly, people love to watch things build up and then to pull them down. So Netflix got huge and people are enjoying watching them fall. And then if they suddenly rallied, we'd enjoy that too, because that's kind of human nature. JD, go ahead.
My thing is, and it's not the modicum of glee in seeing it fall. It's that watching them implode on themselves. It's we're losing subscribers. You know what we can do? We can raise our prices and then crack down on password sharing after 2 years ago being pro password sharing. Oh, we're losing subscribers. It's everything other than what we're doing that's causing that. Here at the Experience, right? Like my job at the Experience is such that if we started losing followers and started losing subscribers and started seeing that kind of hemorrhage, my whole job would be to go, what are we doing wrong and how do we fix it? Not, well, it's somebody else has created some content that's taking away from us, or, oh, this show left, or whatever. It's how do we fix the problems we have? And Netflix, rather than doing that, is finger pointing.
Yeah. JD says, Arcane is really good. As for channels doing whole series review, I think it's on them. You could stretch it out if you really wanted. There are a few shows we only watch a few episodes at a time, but it's binge city for us on most things. And you know what? You could still binge. You could binge Moon Knight. You just have to wait. But from a business standpoint, the best way to make a series, build an audience is to give it time. The week by week. It's the reason TV did it. It just makes more sense. All right. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will talk The Doctor. Be right back.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner. Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
everybody. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. We are going to be talking about Doctor Who when my guest returns. Kyle is joining us today. But Kyle ran off to take care of the llama, so he'll pop back up as soon as he returns. So what we're going to talk about is, well, I don't know how many of you grew up on the Doctor. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Let me tell you before we get started, we've got a pretty good lineup today. This afternoon it's Tuesday. Let's see. That should be maybe Black Comics Universe. Have to check with Kyle, see if that's back. Then it's Minute to Skim It with Miss Jen. Then myself and Jay and Kyle will be back to talk new comics. And the comics we'll be talking about, we've got the new Avatar book. Yeah, hey, there's TV show or movies are coming back about Avatar. There's a new comic out today about Avatar, or tomorrow as well. Betty Page, Alien Agenda #3, Cold Iron #1, Grimm #1, Immortal Red Sonja #2, Vampirella Strikes #1's coming back. That's coming out tomorrow. Jenny Zero Volume 2 kicks off the Mike Mignola Hellboy Artisan Edition. We're also going to be talking about Transformers The Last Bot. That's pretty interesting. There's some really good stuff this week. So you want to tune in tonight. That's at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. But of course, Minute to Skim It is on prior to that. So that's lineup. I don't believe Black Comic Universe will be on today. I don't know why. They haven't told me yet. So, but that'll be our lineup for today. This week I have guests. Tomorrow will be. I just know the name Danny. I don't remember what the guest is going to be. He's going to be talking about a Kickstarter. Kyle can tell you about him when he comes back. And then Danita Parrish will be joining me on Thursday, who is part of a new anthology horror series coming out from American mythology. This will be her first book. She's an old friend of mine, so we're going to have her on to talk about that, and other guests or the other writers who are in the group. So we'll be doing that. All right. Let's see. Do we have Kyle back yet?
No.
Okay, Kyle. Who's my guest tomorrow? Danny what?
Danny J. Quick of Ace Blade.
Danny J. Quick of Ace Blade. All right, so we'll be talking about his Kickstarter tomorrow. So, all right. I'll ask you the other thing off air.
He just texted me. So.
Oh, cool.
Let me see what he has to say.
All right. What does he have to say?
He will send me that stuff shortly.
Okay. Very cool. All right. We, of course, had the news on Sunday break that a new we knew a new Doctor Who was coming. Interestingly enough, an old Doctor Who showrunner is returning, Russell T Davies, who's the one that brought Doctor Who back after, I want to say years of hiatus, but the TV show went on a hiatus. There were still comics and magazines and audiobooks and the Doctor Who, and conventions and stuff. The Doctor Who world was still going on.
We'll just ignore the movie.
No, we don't.
Well, for our purposes, we're gonna.
I don't ignore the movie because I liked the movie.
Oh, so did I. Paul McGann is my favorite Doctor.
Yeah, Paul McGann was awesome. I've met Paul. He's an absolute sweetheart. And I love seeing every time he pops up in something, it's like, hey, and I thought he was a great Doctor. And I thought it was not the normal series. It was a little different. Eric Roberts as the Master was kind of an odd choice. But he's official, We got the Sylvester McCoy regeneration into Paul McGann. And we finally got to see Paul McGann regenerate into what turned out to be John Hurt. for the War Doctor. So, no, I would love to see the BBC come out and give us more Paul McGann adventures. Even if it was like a 6-part series.
And they have in the whole audiobook world. Like it's become more of a, they've done more Paul McGann stuff just in audiobook form.
Yeah. I actually was working on a pitch for a Doctor Who comic, and that was the Doctor I was working with. Because that's, I think for everybody, and Mark Shepard was talking about this. He was on the podcast Inside You with Michael Rosenbaum. And he was saying that basically your first Doctor tends to be your Doctor. Whoever is your first experience as a Doctor. And I remember watching some Doctor Who's, but not really getting it when I was a kid. I'd come home after school and we had KCET here, PBS, and I would turn it on and I'd catch like the tail end of Tom Baker or Peter Davidson as the Doctor. And then I would watch Giant Robot. And I was there to watch Giant Robot, but Doctor Who was on beforehand.
That's how the series started, right?
Yeah.
The series was started in England to be the thing that went between children's programming in the morning and the afternoon football match.
Uh-huh.
So, like, you needed something that dads could watch and not be like, this sucks, this is awful. But you needed something that kids could watch because, well, if kids weren't getting up from, children's programming, they needed something that was somewhat family friendly. And so they created this show. And it turns out that Doctor Who really does have what I call, and I should probably call it something else, but I call it the Shrek radio, which is jokes that everyone can get, but everybody gets for different reasons.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who had action, adventure, and storytelling that had something for everybody for different reasons.
Yeah. For a lot of kids, it was scary, and they loved it for being scary. But you hear a lot of British people talk about watching it from behind the couch. They'd be peeking
it's
around.
A great book.
Yeah.
Have you read the book Behind the Couch?
No.
I'll see if I can dig up a copy and send it to you. Behind the Couch is a smaller than average hardcover. It's like this, but they're prose stories and recollections by celebrities of their Doctor Who experience.
Yeah.
So watching, the idea of Behind the Couch, right? So it's, and some of them were like companions and stuff people who went on to become companions, talking about why they love Doctor Who. And
and there was Doctor Who was such an effect on so many people. One of the strangest ones to me is Diana Gabaldon, who is the author of Outlander, which is a huge book series, a huge television series. It's probably one of the most popular female audience books. I've been to watch parties. I went to a watch party for one of the first season of Outlander. A friend of mine had the party, and I swear it was myself, my friend's husband, and 35 women.
Yeah.
And there was the scene from that season was the guy spanking the female lead, and all the women were like giddy waiting for this scene to come up because they'd all read about it. It was like the weirdest moment of my life, watching all these women anticipating, and then that was the payoff, and I'm like, where the hell am I? But
right.
But the creation of Outlander, Diana Gabaldon will tell this story. She wanted to write a novel, but she felt that she should write a first novel and get it out of the way. She felt like she needed to do a novel, make all her mistakes, learn from it, then write the real novel. Well, Outlander was her first novel, but not trying to make a novel like that. She was sitting in a bar, caught an episode of Doctor Who with Patrick Thornton. Patrick
Troughton.
Troughton. Patrick Troughton. And Fraser Hines as Jamie, his companion. And she so liked the character of Fraser Hines as Jamie that she wrote a time travel book about a woman who went from World War I or World War II, I don't remember which one it is, back to these days of Jamie and basically met Jamie. And you think about it, Claire goes back and gets involved with Jamie to the point where, so it's basically a Doctor Who fan fiction about Jamie, about the companion, to the point where years later, Fraser Hines, who played Jamie, ends up being a reoccurring character on Outlander because of the connection. And that's all Doctor Who's influence. You know?
Right. I can't speak to that. I know Outlander is a book.
And I've read the book.
My Outlander knowledge.
Yeah.
I also know that the Funko Pops are very expensive. But my Doctor Who kind of, you told your origin story. Mine's a little different. I came to it in the mid 2010s when it had its resurgence, when David Tennant was the Doctor. You had people like Chris Hardwick and other celebrity nerds who were Doctor Who fans because they grew up in LA watching Doctor Who on PBS. And our PBS station never had it here. So we didn't really have it unless you got it from the library or something. So when I started hearing about Doctor Who, I sat down and ironically it was on Netflix. So I watched every bit of it I could, and that got me up to when Matt Smith became the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And in the time between the first Matt Smith season and the second Matt Smith season, I went back and watched every old episode I could find. Like literally everything. Like, you know, if I had to buy it on DVD or if I could rent it on Amazon or wherever. And I learned about the BBC fire and all of this other stuff that's such a part of Doctor Who lore.
Oh, yeah.
That I became completely immersed in it. In a really big way, to the point where like my cubicle at my office at the time, I would have a "Keep Calm, I'm the Doctor" banner on the outside of the cubicle, and like I had the door to my cubicle had Bad Wolf sticker on it, and like, you know, caution, cubicle bigger on the inside, you know, kind of jokes all over it. And people will be like, I don't understand why you're so into this. And then Doctor Who blows up, right? Like it becomes colossal. Now everybody wants to come and talk to me about Doctor Who fan theories and, you know, what do I think of this and what do I think of that? And I'm just like, where were you a year ago? Where were you 2 years ago? Like, you know, I have a collection of Daleks at the office. You know, like, so my Doctor Who, coming to Doctor Who, I came to it late, but I became hyper fixated on it. I've read or listened to like 70% of the audiobooks. And the ones that I haven't read or listened to are the ones that aren't available at my local library or on Audible or any place else I can find them. Yeah. So it's like, I know they exist. I just have to find a way to get them.
Yeah. I was close. I was starting my story. Like I said, I watched Tom Baker and the different ones in the 80s, but didn't, and I remember them and I remember kind of enjoying them, but it was Paul McGann's Fox movie that aired. I watched a lot, when they aired. That to me was the one that made me go, oh my God, and kind of get into the lore and wait, I know that little guy in the hat. What? He was in the series. Oh, this ties in. That idea. And then just, when he put his costume together and stuff, that got me. That's what hooked me. But then it kind of went away because they only did the one movie. And it was years. And then suddenly my wife at the time, Debbie, was like, oh, there's a new Doctor Who show debuting tonight. I'm like, okay. Because she was big and she loved watching the Tom Baker stuff when she was a kid. So I sat down and followed Rose Tyler, and I'm like, okay, I don't care. And she runs into Christopher Eccleston's character. I'm like, all right. And then the automatons. And there was the one moment that he gets her outside of the building and looks at her and says, oh, by the way, I'm the Doctor. Run like hell. And the moment he made that line, I'm like, hooked. Like, okay, this is awesome. And I don't know why that moment is, but that's the moment I became completely hooked on the series and watched all of all the Christopher Eccleston, all the David Tennant, all the Matt Smith. And I was into Peter Capaldi, and then it kind of faded for me. And I've seen a couple of Jodie Whittaker, but and nothing against Jodie Whittaker. I think this was the writing. It didn't feel like a Doctor Who series to me. Chris Chibnall. And where I loved all the stuff that Stephen Moffat did for Doctor Who as a writer. And I love Sherlock. I liked Jekyll or the Hyde series he did. I wasn't a huge fan of his time with Matt Smith. I liked Matt Smith, but I felt that it was a little too focused on the companions. And that's kind of the one knock I have, is that it's really focused on the companions a lot in that run. But what he did during the Russell T Davies series, Blink, The Girl in the Fireplace. I mean, seriously, some of the silence. Oh my God.
Right. So my thing of it, right? Russell T Davies had a stronger concept, in my opinion, as to what Doctor Who could be.
Yes.
Whereas Moffat had a much stronger understanding, in my opinion, of what Doctor Who needed to be at the time. Russell T Davies was writing the show that the fandom wanted. Stephen Moffat inherited a show that was becoming so popular, it had to cater to the average Joes. And writing a story about a 1,000-year-old time traveler who regenerates a whole bunch of time, is tough when you can write a love story between a boy and a girl in Rory and Amy Pond.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to that, right? That he's telling the story based on what the world is expecting of it. And then we get to Peter Capaldi, and it's such a different sensibility as an actor. Right? You've gone from David Tennant, who is a suit and trainers and running around like a young person.
Yeah.
And then you go to Matt Smith, who's younger still, but a little hipstery.
Mm-hmm.
To go to an old man. And I say that knowing Peter Capaldi's not all that old, but by comparison,
yeah,
is an old man. The sensibilities are different. So now the writing has to change yet again.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter Capaldi is coming out of the 50th anniversary and the War Doctor and all of this other. Now we've got this richer lore to play with. So you have this character that's maybe less interesting than he should have been because of that. And you have a companion who, Jenna Coleman, great actress, not a great companion in my opinion. Because there wasn't a lot of the it didn't feel as co-opt.
Yeah.
As big of a co-op as it had been in the past, where she has a lot of say and sway over the Doctor. It's the Doctor's going to do what he's going to do, and she just went along for the ride until the very end.
Yeah.
And then you have Jodie Whittaker, who I've not seen a single episode of. And it has nothing to do with her. It just had everything to do with I had moved on in my life from a time where I was obsessed with Doctor Who to the point where I can remember the going and having to download Doctor Who episodes illegally from the internet because I didn't have any way to watch them at the time. Like I'd be at a softball tournament, but I couldn't miss Doctor Who. Right. And then finding ways to watch it as it debuted in England, you know, paying for a BBC subscription, BBC license, paying, like doing all kinds of weird stuff I'll watch it eventually. I'll buy the DVDs or I'll watch it when it's on streaming or whatever. And, you know, and now we have this new announcement that, you know, we managed to talk about everything but that. Today, and we have this new announcement, and I'm reinvigorated that it is Russell T Davies coming back, and that it is once again a young Doctor.
Yes,
and that this is, from a societal standpoint, a very divergent choice.
Yes, which we will talk about right after this commercial break.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there. Hi there. Hello there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome, everybody. It's Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I am your host, Henry Kumpel. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in the minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadet.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody, welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the damn Wickline show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box?
What's in the box?
Comic culture and sales.
welcome back. We are talking about, and I guess it's time to finally say his name, Nkuti Gatwa, the new actor cast as the Doctor in the upcoming Doctor Who series, which will feature the return of showrunner Russell T Davies. And you know what? I know it's natural to say the casting would be somewhat controversial, but I don't think it is, because I think that there'll be people out there who consider it controversial, but you're talking about a series that went from a grumpy old man, like grandpa character, to a guy that looked like Moe from the Three Stooges, to a pompous, arrogant James Bond type, to this crazy guy with a giant scarf, to a very young guy running around in a cricket outfit, to another guy dressed like a clown. Then we had little short Sylvester McCoy. The angry Christopher Eccleston, the young and charming David Tennant, Matt Smith, who looked like he just got out of high school and took over the TARDIS. Then the War Doctor popped up, Paul McGann, Peter Capaldi, Jodie Whittaker. The whole point of the Doctor is that it changes. It's constantly changing. It's not just supposed to be an angry old man.
I have a controversial take.
What's that?
It was a bigger deal when the Doctor switched from male to female than the Doctor changing races. There was some talk at the time, and a lot of it was written off as just grumpy old men, and not incorrect, that the Doctor being able to regenerate to a different gender was non-canonical. It was quickly pointed out that the Master was able to do that.
Yes.
And if they're both Time Lords, that means gender rules in Time Lord world or in, for Time Lords are different. So but it was a much bigger deal that we had to go back through and kind of parse the canon, right? There's a ton of Doctor Who canonical lore for. Because canonically, the Doctor chooses faces he's seen before.
Yes.
Well, there are people in the world that the Doctor has seen, and that these are those people. So it would make sense that more than actually changing his person, the Doctor is more of a chameleon than a reinvention.
Yes.
So I think people are less likely to get worked up about that part, and are more likely the people who get worked up are going to be the people who you don't really care about their opinion anyway. What's interesting to me about this pick, and I'm gonna say it because I have to dip here just before the end of the show, but I'm interested to see what they do of having a character of African descent, like not a black character, because that's different, but this particular actor has a strong African heritage that you see in his work in sex education and some of his other stuff. It will be interesting to see how they use that.
Yeah.
And that gives me a lot of excitement, to be honest.
Yeah, he is Rwandan and Scottish.
Right.
Interesting combination. But
I want to go to that restaurant.
I'm fascinated by the fact is that I think this was the only move they could do coming off of Jodie Whittaker. Because once they went to a female character, if they would have switched back to a male white character, it would have been, was that just casting to get people, to appease people, or did you consider that a mistake? Where by going this route, they've now opened it up that going forward, they can go anywhere.
I think there's one way they could have gone back. That would have been to bring back Christopher Eccleston.
Uh-huh.
Bring back Billy Piper. And do the series where the whole series is in the past.
Yeah.
Like this show takes place in a part of that time when they were together that we hadn't previously seen.
Yeah.
That would have been the only way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But especially because it's Russell T Davies coming back, you could have pulled it off.
Yeah.
This is a story we didn't get to tell because we didn't have the actor. Okay, great. But I agree with you. This leaves the door open for making the Doctor a ginger.
Mm-hmm.
Finally.
Now, personally, what I've always wanted them to do is we get these announcements, we find out who the new Doctor is, and it's kind of, it's not as fun as when we were kids and suddenly, when suddenly there was a regeneration, we didn't know who the new Doctor was. You sent me a video about that. I've always wanted it.
I have to dip.
Okay.
But got the point that Dan is going to make, I completely agree with because we've talked about it already.
Yes. Thank you for joining us, Kyle.
Yep.
I always wanted them to announce the huge name actor. Hugh Grant is going to be the new Doctor. And then have him come on, and for less than a full episode, he is the Doctor. Something happens. Jodie Whittaker dies. They regenerate into Hugh Grant. But what we don't tell everybody is that Hugh Grant's only around for one episode, and it dies, and we have 2 regenerations in the same episode. And then the new Doctor is introduced at the end, kind of a bait and switch. That is what I think they should have done. That is something I wish they would do. But, all right, that is going to wrap up the show. We were talking about Doctor Who. Thank you for joining us. Josh, I agree with you. Eccleston was completely underrated. He's one of my favorite Doctors. Paul McGann, Christopher Eccleston, and David Tennant were the ones that really got my attention. And, of course, Tom Baker is still one of the best. But I love all the Doctors for different reasons, Tomorrow we will have Danny Quick, I believe his name is. We'll be talking about his new book, The Kickstarter. On Thursday, we'll have Danita Parrish. We'll also cover whatever news pops up. And then next week, we want to give you guys time to get to see Doctor Strange. So we won't talk about Doctor Strange till the following week. I want to give everybody enough time because there's so many spoilers already out there. There's so much in Doctor Strange that I think everybody should get a chance to see it. So thank you all for tuning in. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Stick around for the rest of the night. We've got Minute to Skim It starting at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Then I'll be back with Jay and Kyle for In Stores this week, starting at 5 Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you and have a great night. Good night, everybody.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.